So, I used to work as a school photographer, and I went to one of the schools I used to attend, long story short. And now we're going to go back to when I attended the school. Now, there was a teacher. I was curious how old he was because he was like really young. And I kept asking him, and he wouldn't tell me, and he got upset and upset and upset, and he ended up reporting me because I asked him so many times. And it was a thing that he wouldn't tell kids his age. And when I came back, he asked me how old I was. I was 28. And I'm thinking, the tables always turn. So then I asked him how old he was. And he goes, 48. Yeah, I'm just thinking to myself, okay, that's interesting. I finally have a question answered that I was wanting to know. And a teacher wasn't going to answer it for me. And that's what teachers are supposed to do, teach us and answer questions for us. And it was even funnier because there was this EA I didn't like. No one really liked her. She had a really funny name. I'm not going to say her name, but no one really pronounced her last name right, and she had a name where you'd make fun of a lot. It was kind of like, say someone's last name is Hunt and their first name is Michael, or they go by Mike. You know what I mean. So I didn't like her because she was very bitter, very mean. I remember one story I have is we would always sneak into school because it was so cold out. Like, it'd be like minus 20 outside, and like we would have frostbite by the first 2 minutes of recess. And she'd be shouting at us for sneaking in or whatever. Actually, this is a funny story. Two of us snuck in the boys' change room because we wouldn't think she would go in the boys' change room. And it was like pitch quiet, like a movie. Like, imagine like that, when I went like that. So one of the kids I went to school with who was in there wanted to see if the shower nozzle was working. And this is only funny because I hadn't been so frightened in my whole life. Turned the nozzle and then water squirted out. And it was like the loudest thing. It was like, holy shit, holy shit. And it's just so funny because we're freaking out over water. But yeah, she was very strict though anyway. And she didn't find us that day, spoiler alert. And there was always something she was doing. Like, she was writing notes on me, keeping tabs on me, following me everywhere. And it was overwhelming, and I got very uncomfortable around her. I started acting up. And so she confronted me that day because I pronounced her last name right, and I knew not to call her by her first name. So there was two signs of respect. She confronted me, elaborated how I hated her. I wouldn't say I hated her. I just thought she was very mean. And I believed in treating others the way they want to be treated, and she was not treating me very well. And I apologized because I thought, I was a kid, I understand that. And she basically accepted my apology. And about 1 hour into that day, I basically was going to the office. I was talking to the administration, and she's with this kid with special needs, and she said, you see that boy right here? He wasn't very nice when he was a young kid. And she would say to me, like, how I was on my bike and I'd stare her down on an off day, that kind of thing. And I'm thinking, you know what? My 12-year-old self was right about you. And in a weird way, it's like kids are always right. But in this case, it was like, I was always told by my principal, who was very mean at the time, that I had to respect her, I had to be nice to her, but she was being nice to me. And I'm thinking, like, my younger self was right the whole time. And it took a big weight off my shoulders, in fact. I wasn't even mad. I was just like, okay. But my point here is, I tend to find people don't change. Like, sure, we grow up and all that, but when I look back to it, it's like, maybe kids are right, but the thing is, kids are bullied too much, and I was one of them. But like, when we grow up, we see the adults who they actually are. And I mean, as a kid, I would see it, and I would disrespect a lot of my teachers. And it wasn't about me being immature. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I think back to it, and it's like, my younger self was right. And it's funny because I have many of these occurrences as as a school photographer. The other one was really funny, and this is the same school. So there was an EA at that school, and I was quoting an episode of South Park. It was the one with the shit counter where they said like shit probably. I think it's season 5, but South Park fans know what I'm talking about. And so I was going shit, shit, shitty, shit, shit, and he comes out and he goes, Steven, swearing's not okay. And I'm just like saying I was quoting an episode of South Park, and I was basically trying to be funny. I don't think they thought it was funny, or maybe they did. They just didn't want my friends didn't want to get in trouble. And so I would say approximately, how many years would that have been? So I'd say maybe 16 years later, I'm at this middle school. It's one of the worst schools I've ever done. And he's at my camera, and he introduces himself first and last name. And I said, Mister, you used to work at this school. Those are, what did I do there? And I told him what he did. And he's like, I'm like, oh, and you also taught at my middle school when you were placed a teacher. And he goes, no fucking way. And I'm shocked, and I think back to how he said swearing's not okay. And I mean, personally, I'm thinking in this situation, if I was telling a kid, like, not to swear, I would just say, you need to learn how to use it, and now is not a good time, and you don't say that at school. You can talk to your parents about it. That I would say something in that context, not say no swearing, because I think, like, all adults swear, and every kid's heard an adult swear, whether they like it or not. And after I told him, he told me that swearing wasn't okay, I said to him, he goes, welcome to the real world. And I brought up the fact he drove a Volkswagen. He's like, how the fuck do you remember this? And after I took his photos, he's like, it was nice to see you again. And he told me to call him by his first name. And it's kind of funny because teachers rather be called by their first name for some reason. And it's like, I'm stuck calling them Mr. and Mrs. after knowing them as that all those years. So it's rather funny, but also weird. So it's like, I mean, it's just weird for me because it's like you teach these kids things and then they're stuck being educated in that thing. So like, it's good to educate kids, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I think everyone who's watching the video is trying to get my point, like how adults lie to kids. And I mean, one I said is I have little cousins, and one of them wanted to know what a stripper was. And I said to them, oh yeah, it's someone who peels bananas at Walmart. Like, that's why they'll have Walmart strippers, Safeway strippers, Superstore strippers. But yeah, I just say that because they'll stop thinking about it, and they can enjoy their childhood now. They don't have to be hung up thinking about it through their adulthood. And I mean, they'll probably think it's funny too when they're adults, saying, oh, he lied to me saying that. But yeah, I think like my point though is people never change. And that's the unfortunate thing about life. So people keep telling me someone's grown up, someone's changed. And I have too many stories about these, but the one about saying that I'm not a nice boy to a kid just basically proved my whole point as to why I believe people don't change. They really need to prove it to me in order to sell it to me.